masculine pose. The modern day construct of what we call the sisterhood, this thing that they supposedly have gotten together where they're all band together, they're in support of each other, is built on chaos. They hate order, they hate organization. Anything that represents order, because most men and the organization that they bring, if you look at the male institution, there's usually order, a hierarchy system. If you're playing football, soccer, you'll see that there's a system there. There's order. There's those who are there to go get the goals, and there's those who are there to defend, and so forth. But the modern day sisterhood hates order. If a lady gets online and says, "Look, I was in the marriage for 7 years. I just kind of got over it. It was just not doing it for me. There was no abuse or anything like that. Um, the man was good, but I was just not feeling it. I felt like it's more for me out there." Basically, code for I wanted to get my coochie scratched out there in the streets. She's not going to be reprimanded for that kind of talk. She is not going to be shamed for that kind of talk by the sisterhood. They're in full support. This woman could have 3 children in that marriage. They're in full support of the behavior. I am yet to see a behavior that, yes, given, granted that sometimes there's going to be one or two people in the comment section out of thousands would say, you know what, maybe that was not a good idea. There's nothing out here for you. But I'm yet to see where the majority rings down discipline on, that's not a good idea. See, back in the day, a woman could be struggling in the marriage. Psychologically, she's struggling because she's tired of it. But her parents, as a support network, a support system would say, just endure. You know what? Because we've all been through it. When two people who are strangers have become one under one household, it's going to be some teething pain. There's going to be some pain there. The man's going through his own things, and the woman's going through her own things. So back in the day when women got into relationships, whenever they felt like quitting, the mama would say, "No, that's not a good idea. It's your family. You don't want to break up your family." But now, just at the hint of "I'm bored," or the man, let him not struggle 1 second, at the hint of, "Oh, other families or my friends are doing better than me," they're willing to cut it all off and leave. But the toxic component that I'm talking about here is the toxicity of the sisterhood. So the organization of females or women in the modern day times brings about toxicity. I don't see the highlight where manhood or masculinity is looked upon in a positive light. Show me where masculinity is celebrated by femininity. Like the feminine is celebrating it. Because all day, every day, I counsel guys, right? Okay, not every day, but all day, every day, I see evidence of females that got there because of a man. I travel through Africa extensively. I travel through Asia. You find men giving women money. If every man in this world did not give one dime to a woman, trust and believe this boss babe culture would cease. OnlyFans would not exist. Sugar baby would not exist. All these marketeers that are selling goods and service. I'm not saying women sometimes don't come up with their own money. Most rich women got rich because of some man. But yet, in spite of the contribution to a lot of what men give up and sacrifice to most women, even the women that own these properties and these vehicles, despite that, women still have the audacity to crap on men. I know men that go at it 16 hours grinding. I've done it. 12 hours. Only to have somebody's daughter tell you that you're not doing enough. Now, of course, there's men who are lazy and so forth. And of course, there's females that grind. But I have seen guys pull off some shifts. You know, those guys who fly in, fly out, working on the oil rigs. I've known a few. I know a guy right now. He's out there just he's out working on the oil rig. I was about to say a whole lot of details, but I don't want to put at the top of information. But the point is that men pull big hours, and women know this. They really do. For things to function, they have to pull big hours. You know, when there's a flood or a storm and the power grid is down, there's guys and they get electrocuted, they get killed. I know two guys that got killed trying to pull up the power grid. A friend's son got fried. But when men take these painful stories to the internet and shed tears, show vulnerability, the sisterhood is going to say, what? They got no empathy. This is why I think the whole thing is propaganda about this thing about women being more empathetic. I don't believe that to be the case. Because the sisterhood is permanently on toxic mode. A woman will say, a man will say, you know what, I'm, a 40-year-old man, let's say a 20-year-old girl, young lady, likes him. She likes him. And if he declares that, he's a predator. But if you look at the story, those of you who know, like who are older than me, older cats, there was Anna Nicole Smith. She was dating some old, frail billionaire. But she was there. Nobody reprimanded her. So when it's a young lady trying to finesse an old man, because remember, old men are vulnerable too. They can be, they can be taken advantage of. There's a thing called elder abuse, older people abuse, something like that, some term. Because now they're a little bit just like, they're happy to get a little bit of coochie. They get finessed by this fast-moving, young lady, this fast-moving broads. So the point I really want to bring home in this talk is that the sisterhood holds no positive value. Because if a lady says, I want to get married, oh, you can be happy on your own. If she says, I want to leave my marriage because I'm just bored, I feel like I did not spend any time being outside, they're like, go ahead and do you. She could have 3, 4 children in the marriage and they'll still support her to leave. There's no accountability in the culture of sisterhoodness, sisterhooddom, whatever, however you want to frame it. There's no accountability in that camp. There's no honor, there's no empathy, there's no integrity. While men will look out for each other. It's just in us. And men are happy to follow. We have leaders as men. We identify that Bill over there is a better leader than I am, and we follow, we comply. But them, they'll be like, you want to be equal, but I don't want to be accountable. I want to make a lot of money, the same money as you, but I want a better man than me. And then when I find him, I'm going to compete against him. So the sisterhood is something that is a toxic creation. Now, the sad part about the sisterhood that's made it very, 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 very toxic is all the cultural norms of different Africans, Asians are being absolved because TikTok and Instagram, or let's just call social media blanket, has become the sisterhood overlord. Maybe back in the day, there would be like a sisterhood that existed within the community, but girls were discouraged from joining those groups. Now it's alluring, it's attractive. It's in the form of a smartphone in your hand. It comes in the form of Shira 7, Cynthia G. And it's like Facebook. Ladies are saying, use him for what he has, date him and but keep you out there. The guy who's good in bed on the side, he's just the money guy. This toxic ideologies are celebrated. That's the point I'm trying to make. They are celebrated. The things that your father will not allow you to subscribe to, or a sound mother, because now even elderly women do not exercise wisdom. The elderly women these days are just as bad. They're trying to get laid too because they chased off their man. So now they also want the same young brother that the young daughter is trying to get at. So the whole construct of the sisterhood is something that is not workable. Like a man cannot work with that. A girl who's going to survive this world has to not be a part of the sisterhood. If she wants to marry, she cannot be part of the sisterhood. And a lot of them have like they eat it up on a daily basis, especially if they don't work many hours. They're not busy, so they chew it up. It's not only there's variations of what Share Seven teaches. The sprinkle lady. There's variations into it's, and you can see the reflection of that in East Africa. I was in Kenya, I was in Nairobi, I was in Mombasa. There's variations in Ghana of that same doctrine. In Nigeria, the feminism in Nigeria is very strong. It's crazy. So now, in light of that, men are just viewed as something to use. Because the thing is, women don't see themselves as abusers on an individual level and as a group. They don't see themselves as abusers. Because I've spoken to a lot of young guys that were abused as young boys, like little boys that were touched. But women do not see themselves as abusers. And the sisterhood does not. I remember there was a video that came out in Nigeria. This young 16-year-old boy was clapping the teachers, whatever. But nothing came out of that. Clapping the teachers' cheeks. But they don't see them as abusers. So even when in the sisterhood, when you get rid of a child, when they delete the child, it's not abuse to them. It's just my body. But any man's expression of negativity towards that bad behavior is seen as hate speech. If I point out that, hey, you just aborted, you had 3 abortions, what's up with that? That's hate speech. The tone of your words is worse than the action that they did. If she cheats on her husband, who basically took her to Hawaii, then he took her to Jamaica, and she cheats on him, the sisterhood has no problem clapping for her. That's why it's toxic to be in any long-term relationship with these women, because they subscribe to a bigger idea, and it's more important than their relationship they currently hold. So back in the day, a woman would reference her family members, say, hey, father, mother, whatever, I'm going through a bad situation in my marriage. And they would sit her down and there'll be the elders, they'll give her counsel. But now it's a sisterhood. That's why you see ladies take their problems to TikTok. And what do they get? It's not one individual, it's a bitter woman trying to get everybody into our group. It's a majority of them. The sisterhood culture is destroyed. It's made it worse because they're all connected now. They all resonate on their hurts. Yes, of course, you could have had a man that hurt you. Men have girls that have hurt them. Men, we get hurt all often, way more often. Why? Because we're trying to date this one and she goes shooting. You try another one. You try another one. Ladies tend to have optionality. A man could have the whole weekend decked out, ready to go. And on the last minute, boom. Sorry, I got a headache. And it's in Africa, it's even worse because you send transport money for her. Come on, meet me here. You send money, you send everything, and you all of a sudden her phone is off. So this idea that men are problematic, yes, of course, in the cultural sense, there are some problematic men. We as men know some few men like, he's a loser. But we don't roll like that. On the majority, a lot of guys are just easygoing, happy to just go to work, meet a nice girl, that type of simplicity. But that simplicity is boring and toxic to a lot of ladies because it's toxic because, he was just not stimulating me. So they're going to go on the streets and then they get used and abused. The coochie ran through hard. And then she won't want to come back to you. But a lot of dudes be silly. A lot of guys be silly and they accept these ladies. And that encourages them. So that simping thing is bad. But majority of any wickedness a woman can do to a man, when it's presented, at the council of the sisterhood, it's always praised. There's 1 or 2 comments in there objecting, but the majority are. And these are so-called Christian women. Sunday, speaking in tongues women. That just tells you that the whole thing is broken. It's sad to see. It's toxic to be outside and trying to date a woman. I'm telling you now, it's not a positive thing. And you can say, who hurt you? I've never had a problem having access to women. I've never had an issue since I was young, any given day. But I abstain because it's just that live. You know, it's like live wires. You don't want to touch them because you're gonna get fried. It's that toxic. The sisterhood is demonic. I said enough. Peace, love, and blessings.